I'm just gonna let people fold in.
Yeah.
Well, this is our premium cuties over at Joy's house. And it is so exciting to have two of the smartest people on
Oh,
Substack. The great Ellie Leonard, the great Lev Parnas. They are the deep divers into all things Epstein files. And today, y'all, we're gonna get the tea because Lev and I just do tea. We do tea time but now we've added Ellie, so it's like even
Yeah.
better tea. So we're gonna have total tea time for you guys. This is exclusively for you guys. We're gonna talk about this man who has turned up dead. I'm going to read you very quickly a little bit from the CNN story before I let these two brilliant people cook. So, a French professional model recruiter who, for over a decade, arranged for the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to meet multiple models was found dead at his home near Paris on Monday. Daniel Siad's body was found in his house in Colombe, or is it Colombe? A suburb of the French capital. Marie-Céline Laris, deputy public prosecutor at the Nanterre Public Court, told CNN on a Wednesday statement. An autopsy will be performed on the body to determine the cause of death. And with that, who wants to go first? Who is this guy?
go, Ellie, go. Ellie,
Go,
go.
Ellie,
Tell
go.
everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So once upon a time, uh, Jeffrey Epstein and Jean-Luc Brunel started a modeling company together called MC Squared. And Epstein invested $1 million, and Jean-Luc's job was to make sure that that was a solid investment. It wasn't. It was a completely bankrupt company, but he would have his accountants fudge the receipts to show that they were always making money. But really, they never made any money. They were not doing any modeling, and it just became a funnel to get girls into the US. And that was like the sole purpose of this modeling agency. And so Daniel Syed was the headhunter. He was the recruiter. And if you look back through, if you just search in the DOJ files under from Daniel Syed, you will get all the emails that he sent to Epstein that are just kind of like grocery lists of like, this is the size, this is the age, this is the country of origin. When can I have her call you? She's a Thai model, she's a Thai actress, all these things. And so he was very, I mean, he and Jean-Luc Brunel were not very quiet about, when they emailed and saying what they were doing, whereas Epstein was much more covert in his emails. So for a long time, when I was doing my Epstein research, I was speaking to a woman named, her name is Beatrice Cool, and she's actually one of the original Trump accusers. And I said, this guy, Daniel Syed, like, where is he? I know he's in France, but like nobody's talking about him. Nobody seems to be looking for him. And she said they have a full like investigative team hunting for this man, and they've been hunting for this man for years in France. Well, lo and behold, last month he thinks he's going to go on CNN and like clear his name, sweat through his clothes, clearly made a mistake and figured that out halfway through the interview because it was a great, great interview. And then a month later, he's dead. Now, I am I firmly believe they will never say this is a suicide because they know that that's sketchy. They will say he died of natural causes. That will be what we're told, that he had a heart attack, that he just happened to die a month after he gave an interview after being missing for several years. Um, Very, very, very suspicious. And now what I've heard overnight, and Carly Riley is reporting this morning, is there is a nonprofit now suing the France investigation into the Epstein files for mishandling information and letting this happen, like letting another person go, because Jean-Luc knew everything about Epstein financially and with sex trafficking, and he was working with the FBI. He said, I will get you all the pictures, I will get you all the blackmail, I'll get you everything you need. And then at some point, Jean-Luc got scared, backed out, stopped answering the FBI's calls. He ended up indicted. He ended up dead in jail. Daniel Syed knew everything that Jean-Luc knew. He was a source. And so, you know, all of us are on hot on our signal yesterday going like, all these guys, all these co-conspirators, they need to have taste testers. They better not be drinking their tea because they're going to start dropping like flies, right? This is not a natural death. This is not a suicide. Something happened. He started to speak and he disappeared and he's dead a month later. So that's kind of the gist of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
that is
second that. That is
A
not
little bit.
coincidence. There's not
no
coincidence.
coincidences. No. Well,
No.
Malcolm Nance used to say coincidences take a lot of work to put together, right? You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Um, So,
100%.
Lev, how let's start with what the reaction is inside of Trump world because, the Trump Epstein connection survived Epstein's alleged death. He seems to be doing a lot to protect everyone involved in the Epstein world.
Mhm.
What's the reaction so far among Trump world to this
It's
guy's death?
interesting. It's interesting. That's why I don't believe in coincidences. It's like no big deal. Like it's like
Mm.
there it goes. The other thing I'm starting to one of the things we can't go into now, Joy, but there's a lot of things happening in the background which soon are going to start blowing up. Where um, connecting the dots to one of the reasons why Michael Cohen is now back into the mix with Trump. There's a major, what's the proper word to use? Operation literally going on to cover up certain tracks, certain things having to do with the Epstein files. And because of some of the incredible work that's been being done on this platform, actually, to be able to, there's an, so I can't go too deep into it, but I don't believe in coincidences. I agree with Ellie 1,000,000%. This is a guy that was completely not only in the fold. If you took Jean Luc away, he was the other Jean Luc. I mean, they knew exactly, and all of a sudden he comes out, starts talking, and
Mhm.
here you go, the guy disappears. So this is like I always say, the cover up is worse than the crime. And right now, a lot of the things that are happening that the media cannot connect the dots, but we are connecting the dots. Joy, we are going to start playing out in the next, literally, maybe even today, tomorrow, like literally that soon. But there's a lot of breaking news that's about to start breaking with trying to shut up people on Substack, trying to go after independent journalists as pertaining to the Epstein files.
I can tell you that there's been a couple of cases of teenagers and like young social media creators who have just started either reading the Epstein files into a camera and making
Mhm.
content around it and getting in trouble. Like people are starting to
Mhm.
go after and prosecute people for just reading names that they find in the Epstein files list, Ellie. It's like there is definitely, and to Lev's point, the media is not really putting two and two together, but it seems like anyone who attempts to disclose the names of the men who Cash Patel claims don't exist and who Todd Blanche claims don't exist in the Epstein files, but anyone who finds these names seems
Mhm.
like they get prosecuted. So it definitely feels like there's a concerted effort to protect a group of men who were at minimum, and
Yeah.
we don't have any evidence they committed crimes against children, but they were very close associates of Epstein.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have all the files. I still say, when they say we have 3.5 million files, nobody's counted. I don't think we have 3.5 million files. I think they gave us just enough so that we can't get through all of them. And we don't know how many we have. And we don't know how many there are left. But like, if you start searching, if you just start scrolling these files, there are lists of men's name in the files and witness testimony to what they've done. And they're not all famous. They're not all people that you or I might know. There's AOL execs, there's
Mhm.
politicians out of Maine and West Virginia and like lists of people. And they're just in there and they are described in detail as to what they did to these girls. And so it's not a secret, but it's kind of like hiding what is the phrase? Hiding in plain space. I don't know what the phrase. Anyway, but like
So
they're
yeah.
in front of us, and we have hiding in plain sight. They're in there, but they're so deep in this massive mound of files that they are very hard to find. But every time I find one, I write down the file number and I write down the name and keep a list because
Yeah.
there are. I mean, there are ways to search by email address. Once you find a guy's email address, that's like gold because then you can start to search the files by that email address and you will get everything they ever said, all the recruitment, all the girls. I mean, if you look through like the JP Morgan case with the US Virgin Islands, you will see all the girls they were bringing from Russia so they could have bank accounts to funnel money out that's not even going to the girls. Like, this is such an intense investigation that I mean, half of it is a cover up because they're protecting bad people, but half of it is they don't know how to prosecute an investigation this big. Like, if they
Yeah.
fully prosecuted everybody involved and every institution and everything to the fullest extent, there could be a collapse. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen
Yeah.
anything this big before.
And anyone who knows anything, Lev, it feels like they're anyone who was involved, they're all being very quiet, but if you say
Mhm.
something, this guy's death kind of tells me this is where you'll go. Do you think that this is one of the reasons Michael Cohen went back? Because, I interviewed Michael Cohen about this multiple times. You know that I did
Mhm.
because I tried to get him to be on with you, Lev, and he wouldn't do it. But he went on with me and he insisted that he knew nothing about Jeffrey Epstein
Yeah.
and knew nothing about Trump's relationship with
Right.
Jeffrey Epstein, never met Jeffrey Epstein. Do you believe that? Because now he's back with Trump and
I'll tell you, it's so much scarier and deeper what Michael Cohen's doing. It's not just that he's back and trying to be the fixer that he's trying to get back, and he's not fully back. He's back, but trying to get back, and that's more dangerous because by trying to get back in Trump's world, you have to come out with something even more crazy or something even more diabolic, something even more insane to be able to outdo the craziness he does. The one thing I said, and I wrote in my Substack, that I think the one secret that both Trump and Michael Cohen will take to their grave is her name is Katie Johnson, and that's the thing that connects them both, and that's what happened when the one thing that united these two people that hate each other. Believe me, Donald Trump, I mean Melania. I could tell you, there's so much hate in Trump world right now that he brought Michael Cohen back. Trump's getting a lot of heat. That's why Trump is just, put him on the ABC network and is letting him do his thing. And Michael has to prove himself. One of the way Michael is trying to prove himself, and I've been in Congress speaking to people, is he's trying to shut down the Epstein files, shut down a lot of the leaks and a lot of the people they're looking into because, well, how it's going, why. See, the one thing where Trump was really upset about is part of the strategy was to dump all of these files onto the Congress, and they know that Congress does not have the capability or the resources to go dig through all of that. And they thought there was going to be a dump and there was going to be a go through and buy. What they miscalculated is what we always talk about is that because of the internet, because of crowdsourcing, because of people like Ellie, Leonard, Zev Shalev, and others out there that just dug into it, they got millions of eyes of people around the world that started digging into these Epstein files. So basically, that started doing the work. One of the things we were able to do was connect that crowdsourcing with oversight. And we've been just funneling information nonstop, whatever Ellie or anybody we would find, not only putting out the stories here on Substack, but give it to them. So when they went into the skiff, when they knew what to look for, because they don't have the capabilities, they don't have the staff to be able to go through all of that. And one of the things Michael Cohen kept always going at me is, what are my sources inside of Trump world? And that's one of the reasons why Trump is really worried to go after me so much, because he knows he doesn't want me to be the martyr that all of a sudden starts giving information from inside of jail, all of a sudden leaking all his stuff while he's going. So they're trying to right now, Michael Cohen is trying on a mission to find out who the sources are. And at the same time, he's trying to help Trump go after the people that have been actually working it. And that's why I've been saying the attack on Substack is coming, and it's coming. And it's basically here already. We just can't go into a lot of the details. But I think today will be a day when a lot of things are going to start exploding.
Let me read just a little bit more of this CNN piece that Ellie was talking about. So CNN's Katie Puglassi recently interviewed Syed, who said he had no reason to believe that two women he had recommended to Epstein and who had told CNN that Epstein abused them had been harmed by him. Even after Epstein's 2008 conviction on sex crimes, modeling industry insiders like Syed continued seeking business ventures with him, invited him to fashion events, and allowed him to associate with their companies. Siad said Epstein had assured him he had paid for his crimes and that, quote, this would never happen with anybody that Siad referred to him. Quote, I trusted him and believed this guy was a professional person, he told CNN in an interview published in June. I never heard anything from anyone I introduced to him who came back to me that said they had a bad situation. I believe this guy was a professional person. CN said he believed that Epstein was a casting director for Victoria's Secret and the modeling agency MC2. CNN found no evidence to support that claim. Now, Ellie, Victoria's Secret obviously is owned by one of the closest associates to Jeffrey Epstein, the man who gave him his house for like $1.
And his
It's kind of
claims and yeah.
Yeah, and he and gave a lot of money to the University of Ohio.
Yeah,
Why is his name not coming to me? But I'm like, it's a weird thing where it seems like the whole modeling agency, even after the conviction of Jeffrey Epstein, was still rocking with Epstein. So were the academics, right? He was all over Harvard.
yeah,
He was all over the tech
yeah.
world. Peter Thiel was going to the island. Talk
Mhm.
about this because it seemed like that
Yeah,
conviction in 2008 did nothing to slow him down. People were
no.
still supplying him women.
Right, so that was Leslie Wexner who gave him
That's
his
Wexner.
house, gave him his planes, probably gave him his Palm Beach house, gave him a house in Ohio that has never been investigated, the Ohio compound. The modeling industry will never investigate themselves. Like, until somebody knocks on the door and says, "We're investigating you," they're not gonna raise their hand and be like, "Hey, I think something was going wrong here." They will never, ever, ever say that. Um, I do know that I don't know if what Daniel Sayed is saying is true, but I do know that Epstein presented himself as a Victoria's Secret model recruiter when he met Sarah Kellen, when he first met her in Hawaii, and he tried to get her to model for him in his hotel room. And then later she came back and became his assistant. So that was something that he said he did, but I don't think there would be any. I don't think he would ever think that he was a model recruiter then, because Jean-Luc Brunel was very close with Epstein. I mean, they were buddies. I think it was a very transactional relationship, obviously, since he was bilking him out of millions of dollars. Um, but
And
I don't think
Brunel
there
was
was any.
abusing girls too, right? Brunel was
I
in
mean,
prison for
Brunel
yeah,
was
abusing girls.
a
absolutely.
very
Yeah.
he's a very strange fellow, because most of the girls'
Well,
interviews who talk about, I mean, he's just gross and weird and slimy, but most of the girls said he was probably gay. And yet he was a very avid sex trafficker. He was abusing girls. Like, he was just very attracted to young kids is the thing for him. But he ran his mouth. He was not interested in, like, being quiet and covert and speaking in code. Like, he was happy to just talk about the things he wanted. And so we have lots of emails from him that say exactly what he was doing. And he worked with Syed. So Syed knew what was going on. And Syed's job was to travel all over the world. And you can look and find these girls. And there was a woman, she was 21, that I was looking into last night, that he was describing. She was a Thai actress, that he was trying to bring to Epstein. And I mean, if you look at her picture, she's so beautiful and so young. I mean, I know that she's an adult, but like, these were very, very young women and girls. And he had full knowledge of what was going on, because, again, MC Squared was not doing any modeling. They weren't, like,
it-
sending these girls to
uh,
shows.
uh,
They weren't making a dime. Like, they
Right.
were not making any money. And so it was only to pull girls in, get them visas. Because, again, now, okay, so here's talking about 2008, and this is post 2008. A big divide happened after that first court case. Prior to the first court case, Epstein's shtick, if you will, it's a terrible word, but like, the thing he was doing was pulling in girls from Palm Beach High School and local girls who were, like, neglected and
that's
abused
how
in
he
the foster
started. He
care.
Trailer park
started there.
girls.
Yeah, that's how he
That's what
started.
he was doing.
That was
When
just
he
a
went to
original
jail,
Yeah.
right, it
before
spooked him. It spooked
2008,
him.
right?
So
Right.
after that, he started bringing girls in from overseas, and he
European.
was very adamant about making sure they had visas. And so they started sort of bilking the Einstein visa program, and they had
That
people
was
working in
great.
New York to get all these girls visas. And so
You said
after
Einstein
2000,
visas? You mean like
yeah,
Melania
they're
had?
Yes.
yes, all
Yes.
of them. Yes, that system
Yes.
is a little
Yes.
cooked, and I have the names of the people who were in charge of signing all those visas. I got them. So we have all these people. So now he's bringing in all these girls from Russia and Ukraine and all these places, because he knows that they are not as traceable. He's got them all visas. He wants them to look legit, but none of them are modeling. They are all coming in for sex trafficking. And as far as, like, the friendship and all these famous people who hung out with them, most of them started hanging out after the first court case. We have this long dinner list for the Yom Kippur dinner in September 2010 that is just like a laundry list of famous people who started hanging out with him post conviction. Like, all
It's
these
like
people,
that got him on the map. Exactly.
other than the people who were funding him, like Wexner, all the famous people started becoming friends with him after that first conviction. No, and if you just Google, like, this is such simple investigating. If you just Google or go on Chat GPT or something and just say, "Hey, New York City, how many headlines by this year had talked about Jeffrey Epstein's sex conviction and would have been public knowledge?" Hundreds. New York
Hundreds.
Times, everywhere. They knew what he'd done. There's no way to hide what he had done. Every single person would have known by that time, and yet they came to his house and went to dinner.
Hey, Joy, if I could
So
just
nobody had a
comment,
problem.
yeah, if I could comment a little bit on
Please,
what,
I'm just
yeah,
sipping my
what, I just want to add on to what Ellie was saying, which is remarkable. I think is an extremely important timeline that everybody needs to understand and what transformed. See, Jeffrey Epstein before 2008 was, a local pervert. He was a
Hmm.
local pervert that dealt with local, governments and stuff like that. After 2008, he transformed by going over and started. He blew up by
Hmm.
going international and by bringing and at the same time something at my camera is moving. I'm sorry. At the at the same
Doesn't look like it's
time.
moving for us. We're good.
Oh,
No,
okay,
you're
good.
good.
All right. At the same time, what happened simultaneously is you had the fall of the Soviet Union. So you had all of the regions, all of these
Hmm.
different countries that became corrupted. That had no not they were already corrupted. They had no leadership. They were all, and then you had these powerful men like Epstein, financial, because Epstein was never a Victoria's Secret's recruiter. Anybody that was just like the cover up. Like like if we open a company, if somebody says, "What did you do?" Oh, that's what my role was. It was like you got anybody understood that, and and you got to understand where it all started, and it started with a girl named Rosa. And I want to say to you, and I like this is very important because
Yes.
CNN also just did an interview to because while Epstein and I have goosebumps because this girl came from Uzbekistan, one of the regions from the former Soviet Union, and while Epstein was on house arrest, wearing an ankle monitor,
Hmm.
being prosecuted through this criminal case, this is when he started, like Ellie said, looking into internet because he couldn't go into the backyard. He couldn't go to the trailer parks. That's what he was being looked into. And that's when they brought him his first girl, Rosa. And she was from Uzbekistan. She was a model. She was a young girl. They brought her on, I think, the Einstein visa, also, if I'm correct. And that's how it all started. And I don't want to reiterate the story because people could watch it on CNN, but it was just disgusting and gruesome to see what she went through. And the sad part about it, Joy, is she is the young female and the girl that they exposed in these Epstein dumps.
Yes.
She was the one, she
500
was
times.
particularly
Wow.
500 times. She went on with her
Yeah.
life. Nobody knew
Yeah.
that she was ever involved with Epstein. And they basically, and I met her for the first time at the hearing when they had the hearing here in Palm Beach. And she was one of because she was already uncovered, she was one of the people speaking. So that time frame, Ellie, you just nailed it. Is a
Yep.
major shift of when he went international with this, and that's when everything started blowing up. And the whole part about it is everybody knew it. It's like made him famous and like made him even more. That's the crazy part, the sick part.
Can I
Well,
add something
please.
to that?
Yes,
Well, I was
please.
just gonna say it's hard to watch her full interview because I think it's behind. You have to have a subscription to CNN to watch it, but there are clips online. If you watch her when she speaks about this and you watch her body language, like a lot of people throw around like, "Oh, is this true? Is this not true?" I would say go watch what you can watch and just watch her body language, and that is a true survivor. Like, I mean, just like I mean, down to the vein popping out the side of her forehead as
Yeah.
she speaks. Like, this is a person who was devastated. She was 18 years old. And I was told by another survivor that there are several women and girls who were abused while he was on house arrest. Not even on house arrest, while he was on in the Palm Beach jail and he was on work release 12 hours a day. So he created this company called the Florida Science Foundation that had nothing to do with science. It was not a foundation, did not raise any money, but he created it in order to have an office to go to that was next door to his lawyer. And then he hired guards from the jail to work for him to the tune of $110,000, and then they burned the sign-in logs for this office. Like, this was so corrupt. And during this time that he would leave the jail because his cell was always unlocked, he would leave the jail 12 hours a day to go to this fake office, and he'd abuse girls there. And
Jesus.
I believe, and I don't have evidence of this, I believe he left Palm Beach during this time. I don't think that they
Jesus.
were like on him, monitoring him coming back in after 12 hours, because I know after he was released, he was supposed to meet with his parole officer every 90 days for like 18 months. Never did it a single time. They never called him back.
Jesus. Let me
Yep.
ask you this question because this is fascinating, and I've actually never heard it laid out the way you 2 are laying it out. I think it's really important to get this timeline. So he's a local pedo that's operating just among the trailer park girls in Palm Beach.
Mhm.
Then he goes to jail, but he gets a sweetheart deal from the feds to say, "We won't
Mhm.
federally prosecute you." Then he comes out after that and blows up into
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
international. Was he and either you can answer this, but I'm gonna start with you, Lev, on this. At some point after the 2008 conviction, was he recruited by US intelligence, Israeli intelligence, Russian intelligence, or UK intelligence, or all of the above? Like, at some point, did the recruitment happen post 2008 conviction, or was he already
Pre.
mobbed up before
Yeah.
that?
He was already mobbed up before that. He goes back to his relationships with Viktor Churkin. The Russians go way back. But it was different. It was more financial. It was more information, and but it wasn't as much. And again, we also don't have all the information, like Ellie said, because prior to 2000, they didn't have emails or text messages, so we don't know exactly what was going on back then. But you could see it from not only from the files but also from the transformation of, like you said, you stop seeing the girls. Like if you see all the survivors from local the trail like the
Yeah.
trailer parks and everything are before 2008. If you take
Right.
all the survivors from
The
post
accents
2008,
are it's
tries to
crazy
go,
because
it's
when
all
you hear the
European, it's
accents,
all
they all
visas,
have
right.
European
It's
accents.
it's all
Yeah.
Europe, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because he realized it's like he was told, "Don't shit where you eat," type of thing. It's like,
Right.
Mhm.
get out of here. And another telling part of Rose's story, which was extremely important because I could understand knowing how people in those parts of the country look at the relationship, because they all know that big money buys power. And so she told a story that when she was in his Epstein's house, she was already being abused. She was trying to find a way to get help. And here she is one day, she's in the kitchen, and all of a sudden she sees a sheriff pull up, a police officer show up, and she's like, "Oh my God, this could be a situation where," and she goes, and he comes up, they hug, they laugh, they talk about, and at that moment it showed me that his power was to such a degree that I didn't have a way out. Something I'm paraphrasing.
Mhm.
So that was their way of showing it. I mean, that he has on this ankle bracelet, the cops are coming to his house, and he's still abusing you while you're sitting here and doing it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it
They
was
I
sick.
mean, the FBI agents approached Sarah Kellen in the airport when she was being abused, and people debate if she's more an abuser, more of a co-conspirator, but when she was in an airport and she was very young, the FBI agents approached her and Epstein goes, "Stay here," and he went and talked to the FBI agents and
Mom.
then they left and he said, "Okay, we can go
Jesus.
now." Yes. I mean,
It's
he
terrible. Because
and
he
it's
was serving a
yeah,
purpose, right? Like, he's
yeah,
now I mean, he shifts from personally just being a disgusting freak that
yeah,
wanted to have sex with
yeah,
children to supplying other disgusting freaks
yeah,
around the world and then having that intel,
yeah.
having it recorded. It feels like it becomes a thing where the multiple countries that want to use him as an intelligence
Mhm.
asset realized they could use his proclivities, which he shared with a lot of other very prominent men. They could just use it to their advantage. Just get a lot of men to
Right.
do this freaky shit. We'll just record it, and now we'll have something on all these world leaders. We'll have something on
And
presidents. We'll have some
I
go on.
I think he called in a favor after he got out of jail because he's known Maxwell's well before 1991. 1991 is what's documented. He knew them from the 70s. He knew Leslie Wexner from the 80s. He knew the Rothschilds from the 80s. Like he was very, very well connected before he got into jail. But
He knew Bill
to
Barr's father. Bill Barr's father
Yeah.
hired him.
Yes. Yes. I mean, he was trying to be. They tried to hire him to work at the New York Times when he left the Dalton School, so he knew like yeah, he's so well connected, and again, why I don't know. But like to Lev's point, um, as far as like what we have in the files, and I always say, I said, we have 2009 on, we have everything from 2009 on, and that's great. And yeah, we can say tech wasn't, up and up before 2009, but into the year 2000, 100 million Americans had active email addresses.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have those, you know what I mean? By 2008,
Mhm.
it was almost everybody. And so I was just like, you know what? I did a little math this week because if I can turn anything into math, it makes me very, very happy. And I was like, I'm just going to look up
I
dates.
love it.
I'm just going to look up dates because every letter and every email will just have a year on it, right? So I looked at
Mhm.
2019, 2018. It's like 100,000 files, 150, 100, 200,000 files. You get to 2008 and it drops off to 17,000 files. Like they just disappear, disappear, disappear. They're not in there. Like they do not exist. And so I know that they're not in there for a reason because that's also his deepest friendship time.
Yeah,
2000 to
that's right.
2008 was with Donald Trump.
Yep.
And so the files drop off, they are gone. And
Wow.
that's really important to pay attention to because there was this buildup, there was these friendships and these players that played into what happened after he got out of jail, but we don't have them. They don't exist.
2 questions, and this is one that came up in the chat. A lot of conspiracy theorists believe, Lev, that Jeffrey Epstein isn't dead, that the orange blob that you see in the video going up and down the stairs in the sort of weird around the corner shot where you can see his cell, but only from the outside, is him getting taken out of that prison alive. Do you believe that conspiracy theory, that he's not dead, that he's in Israel?
I'm one of the people that never tries to believe in conspiracy theories and argues
Yeah.
with but I'm going to be honest and upfront. That's one of the conspiracy theories I truly do believe. I believe that it was a lot easier to hide him than to kill him for these powerful people. And I think there's, it's just, he was a bag man for a lot of people. So by killing him, also you lose access to the money. It's the way certain things are run in that part of the world. So um, again, anything is possible, but just watching. Listen, I've been inside not that particular cell, but in identical cells, identical isolation,
Yeah.
and there's no way that you're able to hang yourself. I mean, it's almost impossible. You have to be so
Yep.
determined to do it. Second of all, looking the crime scene afterwards with all of those bed sheets. I mean, there's no way you're getting all those bed sheets inside of solitary confinement. You're getting one bar of soap. You're getting I mean, it's just not happening. All of that, to be able to tie him up. And I mean, third of all, I served time when I was in Otisville with a gentleman, a Dominican Republican, wonderful guy. And he was actually on cleanup duty at MDC at the time when Epstein got killed. He cleaned up the part of the cell afterwards, and he told me, Lev, he goes, literally right afterwards, they served them McDonald's to keep everybody in a good mood.
Mm.
Everybody was on lockdown. They got served McDonald's, and then all of a sudden, certain people got transferred to cushy prisons around and he actually himself he went to a camp because he was looking at different. They sent him to a camp, so everybody could take it for what they're. I don't have an exact proof, but I wouldn't put it past that he's definitely, with today's surgeries and technology, could be living right here in the United States. Doesn't have to be
You wouldn't
going
even know.
anywhere. We wouldn't
Yeah.
even know. You wouldn't even.
And Ellie, I mean, the challenge is it feels like when you look at the trajectory of people who are involved in this, like there's one of few things that happens.
Mhm.
As the victims, you either end up dead or exposed and humiliated as a victim, right? The victims either end up dead
Right.
or somehow the federal government can't figure out how to blacken their names out when they send out the documents.
Mhm.
They dump them and they expose them. If you were a perp, if you were like a friend or you're part of it, you either end up dead, Jean-Luc Brunel, this
Yep.
guy, or you turn, right? Or you just you turn, like you hide it. You or
Yep.
or you end up I don't know. It's hard for me to understand how if he was such an important intelligence asset around the world, why he would kill himself. Like that was the one that was always odd to me.
Yeah.
It didn't make
I
sense to me.
I
And I
I
actually interviewed a guy who had interviewed his brother, and who
Mhm.
the brother had said he was excited about fighting his case. He was ready to fight his case. He thought he had enough leverage so that it didn't seem like he was in a suicidal mode before he died. And then
Yeah.
there's just the weird thing of Bill Barr being in charge of the prison, who's the son of the guy hired. There's too much. And I'm a
Yeah.
conspiracy theorist. I tend to a little bit be, but it feels so weird. It feels like
and there's more to it too. I mean, I'm sorry, Ellie, if I may, just before
Yeah, no, go ahead.
they put him in a cell with an individual that was,
they tried to kill him, a dirty cop,
Nicholas
exactly,
Tartaglione.
exactly. What
Yeah.
I'm saying to
who
you,
then found the note that said, "I'm
yes,
out of here. I'd rather
yes.
go
And
to
he
my
didn't
Yeah.
say anything for
country."
how many years? 8
Thank you,
years? He
thank
had
you.
it in his
I just wanted to
lymphoma.
I just wanted to
Oh,
remind
Yeah.
everybody, like, even I was not in a cell with nobody, and I think Epstein
yeah,
was a lot more, what's it called? They kept me in a one cell by yourself. You're gonna put
yeah,
in a roommate because while he's on the suicide watch, you know what they did to me
yeah,
while I was you know what they do? Let me give you the protocol. When you're on the suicide watch, they strip you naked, they put on this cloth on you, you're in a cell where there's nothing, literally, and there's cameras and they watch you, and that's suicide watch.
24/7. Yeah.
24/7.
yeah.
So, for Epstein, to be in this to put him in a cell with some I mean, when I was watching and reading all this, it's all bullshit. I'm sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Ellie.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I was gonna say, I do think he's dead, but I think the circumstances obviously are very fishy. I have also spoken with, Mark Epstein. He's a scary guy, I think. But this is the one thing that he will talk about. He's adamant that his brother didn't kill himself, but that he is dead. And I also asked him, I said, would you ever be willing to share like handwriting samples? And he did, because that's important to me is to like make sure these
Yeah.
things are actually coming from him. I do think some of the letters that Nicholas Tartaglione had were written by him, but it's so disjointed. And again, he only had 2 indictments against him, and that is the same amount of indictments that he ended up with in Palm Beach. And
Yeah.
so what I feel like happened, and if you it's such a rabbit hole to go through the whole process of, him starting and all his roommates and like the idea that, if it was a suicide attempt the first time, they pulled him off suicide watch 24 hours later after the first event, which is obviously
Very
not
weird.
normal. Um and as far as like how many people commit suicide in the MCC, he would have been number 3 in 40 years. So like
Yeah.
it's not something, so it just the way that I see it is they staged it in order to make it happen, right? Whether it is him killing himself or somebody killing him, they allowed it to happen
Yeah.
purposefully, and they gave him the tools to do it. They gave him the roommates to do it. They gave him the guards to not do, to be neglectful. Like I feel like circumstances were created to lead up to that
So
for a
yeah.
purposeful for a reason. I don't think he's alive. I know people like to like show videos with him walking around Israel and that kind of
I
thing
don't think
driving
Yeah.
yeah, I
around
don't think that. I
Israel.
don't
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
No,
that
those don't
either.
seem
And
that
like
but
I don't
also,
believe that.
did Mark Epstein ever see the body? Like, did they bury a body? Like, that would just definitively
I
say it. Like, did they get a
I
body back?
think he did. I think he got to see the body, and I do think there's some sort of weird burial. They like gave him an unnamed grave because they didn't
That's what
want
I
people
heard.
like
That's why some
desecrating
people are
Yeah,
just
you wouldn't want
his
people to
parents'
come
grave.
to it as a martyr and
Yeah,
come to it to
yeah.
debase the grave, right.
So he's like buried, but it's like unmarked because I think they didn't want they didn't he didn't want people going after his parents' graves. I think that was part of it too.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, I do think that he's seen the body. He's seen,
that would be I think that
That
would
would
be
be
good, yeah.
definitive.
That
I
would
think
be
that's the
definitive.
important
I
yeah,
thing.
agree.
yeah.
I think that's a great
And I've been
that's
trying to
joy.
interview Mark
Unless he's in on it too, but I just don't think
unless
so.
he's
He's
in
just
but
too
yeah,
can.
but feel like
Yeah.
he knew he
He's
acted
so
like he didn't know his
cantankerous
brother was
and
a
like
pervert, you know? It's
yeah.
weird.
Well, I do think he knew. I think they had a
Weird.
very weird relationship. I think he wanted to be close with his brother, and I think Epstein hated him. And I think there's so much narcissism in their family. Like when like he's a person who I could text him right now, and he won't want to talk to me, but he will always respond. He's a narcissist. Like he won't not respond to anything. Like he goes, yeah, sure, send me all your questions. And I sent him like a long list of questions, and everything was in all caps. Nope, don't know, hated it, don't know, don't know. At the end, he goes, I hope that helped. I was like, okay, thanks.
I would love to,
So that was,
know about more about the parents. Maybe the parents, like, were, like, sociopaths, like
they
Trump's
were,
parents.
I mean, maybe they were, but they were just like civil. Like his mom worked with like disabled kids, and his dad was like worked for the like local water department. Like they were just like civil. It's very weird. I think because he went to Europe when he graduated high school early, he was very smart, and he went on a trip to Europe like as a 16-year-old for like a
You're talking about
year, and he just like
Jeffrey.
Epstein, yeah.
Yeah.
And he like house hopped and he came back and everybody said he was different. And I think he something happened on that trip and I don't know what it is, but I think he got connected with somebody when he was a teenager early on because then the ball started rolling and he kept getting these jobs that he wasn't qualified for. He started bringing women from like he brought a girl over from overseas home to meet his parents. Like there's a lot of very weird stuff
He
that I
got
don't think
recruited.
anybody knows about.
Meg in the chat says he got recruited.
Yeah.
I agree. Something happened when he went
Yeah, he got groomed,
overseas.
something.
Wasn't he
Came back
go
Yeah.
wasn't
groomed.
he going to a private school? One of I think with Cliff you were talking about there's something that he went to one of these, private schools or
Oh, so he went to Interlochen. He went to the music camp. And that's a whole other story. Like that was
right,
the whole big
please.
deal because he was recruiting girls out of and he only went a single time. And then he started giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars and girls were being I mean, we talk about Katie Johnson and we talk about this girl in Hilton Head.
Yeah.
But there was 13-year-old girls he was pulling from Interlochen at the same time as Katie
Uh,
Johnson and
sick,
bringing them back to Donald
It
Trump. Like we have
that
witness testimony.
that
sick.
video of alleged interview with Katie Johnson, is
Yeah.
that real? Is that video
I
legit?
don't know. I don't know. Here's the thing,
Yeah.
what I think about that video, because there is a discrediting campaign against her. She's a legitimate person. She went
Yeah.
back into hiding
I've
because
read her
her
files. Yeah.
entire legal file got breached. That is why she pulled out because her all her private information became public. I there was a man who was sort of in charge of her case that I don't think was there to help her, and he's that guy who's like the producer from what is it?
The
What was that old
Apprentice?
talk show where they threw chairs? No, where they threw chairs
Oh,
around.
Jerry Springer? Jerry
Jerry
Springer?
Springer. He's like a Jerry Springer producer. And he was trying to be her spokesperson. And I think he was actually working for Trump. I think he
Uh,
wasn't representative of her at all because she had a great legal team. She had a legitimate story. And here's the deal when you go back to Michael Cohen on that case, somebody came to me this week and said, have you read this out of Ronan Farrow's book from
Out look
2019?
at me, you think alike. I just picked up. I was gonna I
Okay,
literally
so
I was about to read it. I'm gonna read
in
it after you talk about
2019, in
it.
2019,
might get my tooth
Ronan
back.
Farrow writes a book called Catch and Kill, right? I read it. I didn't know who Katie Johnson was back then. I didn't know anything about Epstein back then. Somebody brings this back to me and said, "Hey, chapter 51, have you read this?" And I said, not in a long time. I don't know. In it, it says Michael Cohen knew
I'm gonna read it for everybody.
everything
Let me read
about
it for
Katie
everybody.
Johnson. And he was on the phone night and day trying to get this story to go away. So anyway, go ahead, read the
Yeah,
book.
yeah. So Joy, so yeah, so our incredible Ellie Leonard sends me this at like 2, 3 in the morning when she's doing her work, and I wake up in the morning. I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, yeah, you kidding me? Like, you can't even
So
make
this
this
is
shit
Ronan
up.
Farrow. Ronan Farrow is
Right.
a very credible journalist.
Yes, he is.
I mean,
Brilliant.
top notch,
And
top
Yeah.
notch.
and he wrote this like 4 or 5 years
Years
prior
ago when
to
it
He
wasn't
wrote it
years
right.
seven,
It
ago.
seven,
wasn't
And
7 years ago.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, you go. This had nothing to
Yeah.
do with Katie Johnson. This had to do with Catch and Kill, Pecker, and all the stories. Right. Okay. So this is a
Yeah.
excerpt out of Roland Farrell's book. Quote, but one additional curiosity was never made public. According to several AMI employees and one senior associate of Trump's and Pecker's, who was at the time in close contact with Trump, learned of the lawsuit shortly after it was filed, the lawsuit, the Katie Johnson lawsuit. After that, Howard was on the phone with Cohen, Trump's personal attorney, assuring him that they would track down the woman with the rape allegations and see what they could do about her. Dylan was on the phone call with Cohen at all hours about it. One of the AMI employees recalled it became top priority, with Cohen monitoring the situation. Howard dispatched an AMI reporter to an address associated with one of the initial court filings, but the reporter found only a foreclosed home in the sleepy desert community of 29 Palms, California. A neighbor said that one of them had been there since the previous fall. So that's just an excerpt, but basically it just
He
tells
was
you Cohen
he was
was
sending
involved.
people
People,
to
yeah,
her door to
Wow.
find
yeah,
her.
And And just recall, if you guys remember my interview with him, he said he was trying to track down the case, and there were 2 different case numbers. And I actually reached out to the
Mm,
lawyer who was on the original filing. Katie Johnson filed her case initially as her name, withdrew it, and
yes.
refiled it as a Jane Doe. The initial
Yeah.
law, because she tried to file it without an attorney, and she didn't file it properly, so it was
Mhm.
misfiled. So she didn't withdraw the
Right.
claim, she withdrew the case. The case went away, but what Michael Cohen was concluded, he thought this was a big aha, that the case didn't exist, but the case did
Mhm.
exist. It's just that there was
Yes.
another Jane Doe case that was totally separate, where he drove out to a New York address and there was nothing there but like a, dumpster or something.
See,
But
I
that's
don't
not
think
Katie
that's true,
Johnson.
though. I don't
Yeah.
think he drove
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
to a New York
He does
address.
know.
I think he
Yeah.
is saying he went to the Bronx to look for Katie Johnson, because
Yeah.
I went through all this. I went down a huge rabbit hole because he goes, "Oh, there's so many more Jane Does than there are Ford F-150s," right? That's his
Yeah.
little
Six.
catchphrase
Yes,
that
he
he likes
does
to
say
say.
that.
But it's like, he's a lawyer. He knows how to look up case filings. If you look up every Jane Doe versus Donald Trump, there are 5 of them. There are
Mhm.
3 that are Katie Johnson, and then she refiled with a legal team and they moved it to New York, and then they
Yep.
refiled one more time because they added a witness who was this
Mhm.
Tiffany Doe.
Yes.
So they have
Tiffany
3
Doe,
filings.
yes. Yes.
Yes, so they have 3 filings, but it's because they were adding information. They were refiling. Um, the only other Jane Doe versus Donald Trump, one has to do with the trans military ban, and the other one has to do with immigration policy. It has nothing to do with this. There are no victims, survivor victims, having to do with Donald Trump that are Jane Doe. So that idea that he said, "I went to the Bronx and there was a parking lot, it didn't exist."
So
He's referring to the fact that he sent people to California and
California.
she wasn't at the house because she had moved. But he's turning that into something else. This is very easy to trace this information. I've talked with her private investigator, her lawyers. Like, in his interview, whether he was talking with you, he goes, "Oh, I called John, yeah, or Thomas Marr, and I texted him during dinner, right?" And he said, "Oh, Matt, remember, we've never talked to each other before." And then later in the interview, he goes, "But back when we were talking in 2016," and it's like, yeah, you did talk to him back then, because he was chasing the story because
Yeah.
he knew that Donald Trump was it. Like, he was on the phone night and day because this was big deal and they needed to make it go away. And
And
they
just
had a breach, and then they did.
Yep, and you have to remember, y'all, what the timeline of this is, that Donald Trump was in crisis. This was during the 2016 election. All of
Yep.
these things
4 days.
happened because he needed to beat Hillary Clinton running against a woman, and
Yep.
so he's got the Access Hollywood tape that drops in October. And the same year, 2016, all these things are happening in 2016. He's paying off Stormy Daniels to make sure her case doesn't blow up his campaign. He's trying to stuff this Jane Doe case, this Katie Johnson case, because again,
Mhm.
Donald Trump needs to beat a woman and become president of the United States. And so these
Yeah.
stories, particularly stories of affirming what he said he could do, grab women by the and now there
Hmm.
are women saying he did it. There was another woman who
Oh,
just
yeah.
that ball didn't that shoe didn't drop then, but that of course is E. Jean Carroll, who that shoe eventually
Hmm.
dropped because of that law that was changed by Kathy Hochul in New York that allowed people to backfile cases. Puffy ended up getting got by that, but so did Trump. But that case did
Hmm.
not drop in 2016. I wish it had, but the reality, or actually, I think she started actually talking in 2016.
Hmm.
He had 23 accusers by the time that election
Yeah.
happened,
Oh,
but
yeah.
none of them would come forward. And I've told y'all, back when I was doing AM Joy, we almost had Katie Johnson. She was supposed to do an interview with me.
Mhm.
Her
That's
lawyer
right.
at the time had scheduled an interview and they canceled it that day. Remember that press conference where Katie Johnson was supposed to
Mhm.
do it? Lisa
Mhm.
Bloom was her lawyer, became her
Yeah.
lawyer in California. And we had a whole schedule. I was one of the journalists. It wasn't just me, that she was going to do a press conference and then she was supposed to come on with me. We never got the
Yeah.
interview because she canceled everything. We still don't know
Yep.
why, but clearly, as
I know
Smokey
why.
Joe is saying, she was terrified. Please tell us, Ellie.
Yeah.
Why did she cancel?
So she canceled because they have all of her legal information in their law firm system, right? All her private information, all her location, address, history, criminal history, if she has that, I don't know. Everything was in their system. Their system got hacked that day, and
Hack.
all her
Oh, the
information was being made public. And they traced the hack back to Israel, and it freaked her out so badly. She said, "I'm done. I'm gone." And she went back, and she's not dead. She's not missing. She's just
Good.
done. She's
Quiet.
living in
She's had
anonymity now.
enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
question, exit question, with all of this that we've heard. First of all, we never talked about the other guy, the guy who actually introduced Melania and Trump, who sent his
Mhm.
wife to
Paulo.
Brazil.
Paulo.
Paolo Zampoli. We didn't even get into him because that's the other thing that happens, right?
What a winner.
You get deported, right? The wife got deported and from her own child because she knows too much. Do you believe, Lev, given all that we've talked about, Paolo Zampoli, yeah, that Israel has whatever Jeffrey Epstein knew about Trump? They have all that information and they're using it to bribe Donald Trump.
I think they definitely have all the information, but I don't think they need to bribe Trump. I think Trump
Oh,
is all in on the, what people don't understand is like, yes, Trump is a great, deflector, and he plays the games, but don't forget who's actually is running around the world right now with plans, actual plans about rebuilding the what the
Gaza.
Gaza with Trump Towers. It's Jared Kushner. Yes, Bibi Netanyahu is a monster and somebody that should be handled and go to prison. But they don't. Donald Trump doesn't need to be blackmailed into something that is
He
basically
wants.
he wants exactly. But
Yeah.
things could be right at the same time. And like I always say, yes, I do believe that not only Israel has information on Trump. I know for a fact
Russia,
Russia has information on Trump.
for sure.
There's other countries out there that have information on Trump. I think some of the Middle East countries right now, like maybe
For
the
sure.
Saudis,
For sure.
we're seeing the deals that are happening right now.
Yes.
I think that's why these Epstein files is like we've been talking about are so crucial because it's not just the pedophilia, it's not just the sex trafficking, which is horrible and probably worse than anything else, but also for these people, it's the power and the money.
Money.
Exact
Yes.
money,
Power and
power,
money.
and control of all of our of
100%.
us through that. So that's why
Yep.
it's so much bigger than that, and that's why
Mhm.
some of the stuff that's going to be breaking later today and tomorrow has to do with Paolo Zampoli. Has to do because these are the people that go back with Trump and Epstein. Oh, this is still the inner crew. This is the
Yeah.
guy that is still. And just think about it. He invited the Tate brothers here to
Yeah,
Washington D.C.
he did.
They
They
had
were at his
him.
house when they got arrested, right?
No, they were in
No.
Miami
Oh,
actually,
they were
and
in
when they
Miami.
got arrested, but they were also hanging out with the U.S. ambassador to Romania. Think about that, where they're currently being supposed to be under prosecution. They're here in Washington
Mhm.
D.C. hanging out with with the press. So it's all a click, and that's
It is.
why
And
these.
never forget, Lev, that their dad, who was a chess champion, was a CIA recruit. So
Yeah,
their dad was a
Mhm.
CIA guy. Sorry, continue your
yeah,
sentence.
Yeah.
no, go ahead, Ellie. I was gonna say you could
Please, I
say
was
Oh,
gonna
something.
I was just
Ellie, get the
no,
last word.
I don't really have I just think they're absolutely disgusting, but I also want to remind people, and this goes for Ghislaine Maxwell as well. Um, if Donald Trump were to give any of these sleazebags a pardon, it doesn't apply overseas. They can still be indicted. Like Ghislaine Maxwell can still be indicted in France. She can still be indicted in England. The Tate brothers could still be indicted overseas. It doesn't matter if he gives them, send them off to prison in another country. It's fine. Like he can try to do that. They still will end up in prison.
What's so crazy about this is that right sitting under our noses, you and me, Lev, who lived in Florida. I don't know if are you Florida based too, Ellie, but I know that Florida
No.
was. Oh, you're like, oh God, no.
No, yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
We are living in a cesspool of the
Yeah.
Epstein class who are
Oh
tech
yeah,
lords and crypto bros and AI bros,
yeah.
and in some cases, sex perverts who are running around, running the world, taking countries as if they are buying a new condo, wiping out the populations to clear the
Mhm.
land to build co ops.
Yep.
These people are depraved because they don't care about human beings. They're not humanists. They just don't care. They care
Right.
about money and power and pleasure. And for them, it's an extreme form of gratification that they
Mhm.
seek. And it's so sick and so sad. But thank God we have people like Lev and Ellie
Mhm.
who
God
are
bless you.
brilliant and who stay on it. I wish I had Ellie's math skills.
Right, me
I would be
too.
such a smarter person. I
Me
don't have them. My favorite group chat, we're sitting right here. This is my group
Uh,
chat when I'm like, "Yo," I literally just text these 2 lovely people. They know all, and they give the tea. Lev Parnas, Ellie, Leonard, you guys
We
are
love
so
you.
smart.
We love you,
Thank
Joy.
you.
We love you.
I
Thank
love
Yes,
you,
you.
absolutely.
guys.
Yeah. And
Mwah.
remember, Joy, you just said something very important before we go is Florida is the hub to all of this. It
Sadly.
started, Donald Trump and West Palm Beach and Epstein, that's where their hub. And also the Miami connection. When they started trafficking these girls, they were having, South Beach is where they were having these modeling agents set up, bringing them through
Yes.
there and literally busing them. There were people busing them to these private parties in
Mhm.
Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach. So I mean, it's just I mean, we could go on forever, but
It's
the number
sad.
one thing is thank God to you and Ellie and others that keep this platforming. We need to keep talking about the Epstein files, no matter how hard they keep going on us. We need to
Yeah.
keep doing it because that is their kryptonite, and I think that is the way we be able to take this whole cabal down of all of these
Amen.
people.
One day we're gonna do a whole series. I'm working on a series, because the one dog that hasn't hunt people haven't talked about the US Virgin Islands. I got a lot on that. Um,
That's a
um,
fun one.
I have almost Ellie level depth on USVI. I have Ellie level depth. I don't have Lev level depth on insects, but no, Ellie, you're like very micro, beautifully way
Mhm.
that your mind works to get micro at that. I have gone micro in that way on
I love it.
USVI.
Yeah, it's a
So
good
I would
one.
love to have that conversation with you guys. Thank you
Me
guys for
too.
coming
Absolutely.
to tea with Ellie, Lev, and Joy. We are your tea time pals. Hopefully, you guys have a nice hot cup. I'm gonna go heat mine up because I went through all my tea with these two. They done took all my tea down. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you on the next Joy's House Insiders Live.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Stay out of
Bye.
trouble.
Yes.
Let me see if I can end this. Now, this is my
Me
challenge is
too.
always
I don't
ending
know.
the live.
Me too,
It
Joy.
won't
I don't
end.
know. I don't know.
I don't know how to end the live. This
Oh,
is so
no,
crazy.
this
Every
is
time I
crazy.
do a
Me
live on
too.
Substack, it's like,
Oh, there we go. Now I'm alone. Joy's got hi, guys. Hold on. I don't know how to end this myself. Oh, here it is. Oh, okay, I think I got it. Bye, everybody. Love you. Oh no, I'm still here. Why can't I leave? How do I, guys, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness, I feel like an idiot. I'm stuck with you guys. It's not a bad thing to be stuck with you guys. I love all of you. I just have to. Alexander is waiting for me. We have a live go supposed to do from live from Ukraine, folks. So I'm gonna try to get out of here, and I will see you. Join us live from Ukraine. Voice from Ukraine. We're gonna be going live in a few minutes. Take care, guys. I think I'm out of here. Oh, no. I don't know. I think we're stuck. I can't get out of here. This is hilarious. I feel so stupid. Oh my goodness. Okay, maybe it's my mouse. Oh, here it goes. Okay, this is getting crazy. I don't know. This change. You know what? I can't reboot my computer because I'm not. I have so many things that are set up for my lives that I'm scared I'm going to lose everything. My mouse is so. Guys, I feel like a total idiot. But okay, where's Nick when you need him, guys? I don't know. I think this mouse away. Okay, just disconnect it. Now at this point, I don't think it's me. I think something is screwed up over here because nothing is, whatever I'm clicking, nothing is working. If I press this. How does it kill me?